Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Scorpio energy. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do two rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Scorpio. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio. We all have our dualistic nature in Scorpio, just like all the other zodiac signs that we have the free will to tap into in a more high vibe, worldly, or shadowy way. And so does everybody else. So, in our high vibe Scorpio energy, we might want to move forward in life a little differently. We might be moving forward in life a little differently. The bottom row can kind of represent some of our fears and insecurities that we need to work through as we keep moving forward. For other people, maybe they didn't move forward. You know, everybody's kind of on their own journey of learning lessons, and people move forward in life and work through some issues at different times. The bottom row can kind of represent how some people are living their life right now. Could have been the way you were living your life at one point in time. Just maybe more from a more, when there were some things maybe that you hadn't freed yourself from, maybe. Let's go look. The reason for the bottom row's reading is the Hangman. So the truth sets us free, and the Hangman is about, we can, you know, we look at life from the perspective we look at it, so we go live our life that way, and then we kind of go through a phase of life, and if we, during that course of time, eventually feel kind of stuck, then it might force us to kind of look at life a little differently. And the Hangman is Pisces energy, which is emotional water sign energy, about what we find emotionally fulfilling and our dreams. And of course, at every stage of life, when we've lived our life at all these different ages and stuff, we thought we would find that emotionally fulfilling, and we maybe did for quite a long time. But high vibe energy is about listening to your intuition. Pisces also is about listening to your intuition. That it's kind of like our intuition tells us, you know, I've done this enough, and I'm kind of ready to move forward in life a little differently. And we would probably communicate with people in our life that, you know, I don't want to quite do things this way, the same way all the time. There might be some other things I'd like to do. I'm feeling a little stuck. Some of those people will move forward with us, and some of those people won't. And if it's significant people in our life, it could keep us stuck for quite a while. And underneath that is the Four of Cups, which, you know, again, we can have people in our life that we want to, if we were kind of more having a relationship with them of some sort, whether it's our adult child, brother, sister, mom, dad, friend, romantic relationship, we'd like to keep working together with them. We just maybe like to there could be a part of it where we kind of feel like, I don't know, some of the things that still manipulate them maybe don't manipulate us anymore emotionally. The Four of Cups is Cancer energy, and Scorpio's fixed sign energy, where when we get in, when we're living our life a certain way, we're kind of invested in it that way, and Pisces helps us transition out of it, and then Cancer helps us have new beginnings. It's kind of the different emotional natures within ourselves that we tap into. And some people, you know, just aren't feeling, or their intuition is just calling them forward. It's time to move forward in life a little differently. We might want to keep living our life a certain way, but we could feel like if we keep doing that, we're not listening to our intuition. And we could feel like it keeps us stuck, like we're not continuing to grow and heal and mature ourselves. And then we could feel like people in our life don't want us to keep growing and healing and maturing ourselves because they maybe don't want to, or they want to keep doing the same things. And some things and ways of viewing life that, and it could have been some pride and ego, because shadowy Hangman can be pride and ego and fear. But that if you work through those things, you're kind of have taken that cup of love to love yourself, to face your fears. That if I feel like I'm repeating an old pattern and nothing's changing, again, I could have liked that stage of life, but now my intuition is kind of telling me in the Four of Wands, which is Aries energy, to love myself and believe in myself and kind of live my truth. And though I might have to become independent of some people because that's not how they want to live their life right now and they still want to do this, I can offer love to everyone for them to keep living their life the way they've been living it, but I might not be doing it that way. So let's go look at the bottom row. We have the Two of Cups, a card not showing itself, the Nine of Pentacles, the Six of Pentacles, and the Eight of Cups. So in the Two of Cups, we could have been in job, friendships, and relationships with people, living our life a certain way that we enjoyed. But while you were in that environment, you could have viewed it as part of the journey of life, and thinking, we're all going to go on this journey together. In the Nine of Pentacles, it can talk about becoming independent of a phase of life, just like we were 18, 21, and 25. It's like, I like these people, they like me, we're enjoying life. But you could have thought we would all become independent of that kind of phase of life or a certain stage of life and move forward in life. For some people, they could be in friendships or relationships with people, well, more relationships. And the Four of Wands can talk about coming together with people in joy and celebration, which can be marriages. And so we could get to know people, and then it's like, well, we've gotten to know each other. Haven't we both become independent of former relationships or being more codependent on like our friends or our family group? Aren't we more independent to kind of do more equal give and take with each other in a relationship? In the Eight of Cups is to move forward. The Eight of Cups comes after the Six and the Seven. And the 6, 7, and just the 5, 6, and 7 are Scorpio energy. Then we get into Pisces energy. So again, we get in a phase or some friendship or relationship, and some people assume, we get to know people as friends, and over time, we all might become more independent of old ways of thinking or believing, or just a relationship kind of grows and matures itself, and we kind of go to the next phase of a relationship. The relationship kind of keeps growing and changing over time. We get in something that would have been Cancer energy, Scorpio energy, we're putting work and effort into it, and then it moves forward in Pisces energy to transition to the next phase. And we start out again with Cancer energy. And we go to the next phase of life. And for some people, it's wanting to be in a marriage. And other people don't want to do that for some people. Or you did move forward, but you could have realized, even if you did move forward with someone in a relationship or a marriage or a job, in some of those situations, we didn't realize we harnessed this energy differently, and we could have harnessed all these other energies kind of differently too, but it's the Page of Wands. In shadow, the Page of Wands can be that some people are more codependent or immature. Other people could have that more hopeful, believing spirit. And in our worldly nature of our fire sign energy, we can all want to be in relationships and friendships with people, but some people don't ever really want to do love. I want to be in a friendship and relationship. I like being in them. I could even want to get married. I could like to exchange time, energy, effort, and resources with people and enjoy being in a relationship, but I don't take that cup of love that the divine kind of offers everybody to kind of free yourself from being more manipulated by your more worldly nature of self, which can be more indulging yourself in ego and making your life just more about these things of the world. And we can get in relationships with people and we can move forward with them in relationships or marriages or a job. But some of the people, if it's more like a workplace or a friendship dynamic, some of those people are equally inspired to kind of grow up and mature themselves and quit being more about themselves or just how it benefits them and work together with people. You know, they take that cup of love to love and believe in themselves, to become independent of being more about themselves or indulging their more egoic nature, self-protective nature, being more about themselves nature. And other people kind of go through that process and they kind of free themselves from a way of living life that could be more defensive to love or kind of being more about themselves, and they could hide that they kind of indulge themselves in some way, and they could want to be in workplaces, friendships, relationships, or marriages, but they kind of don't want to become independent of kind of being more motivated by the world, being in the relationship or the job more for these reasons of how it just more benefits them. And they're not really inspired to temper their ego nature, being more about themselves nature, or the image and the status of it, you know. And we can experience that in workplaces where there's people who like their job, they're inspired by it, they're willing to learn new things, you know, are easier to work with because they try to see things from other people's perspective. They've gotten out of being more defensive or immature or more about themselves, and other people haven't. So, and then we could always know people that maybe want to stay single, kind of want to be in relationships with people, but they could have some issue about getting in a more formal commitment. And if other people wanted to be in a more formal commitment, maybe because of, you know, don't want to be in a relationship where you just feel someone's stays in their more defensive nature or fear nature, because eventually you could kind of feel like it is kind of more just them indulging themselves in a relationship, you know. It's like, well, do you love me? And, you know, can we work through these things? You know, if people have, certainly people could have been in relationships or another marriage before, and maybe those things didn't work out. And so then they could have a lot of fear, maybe of trusting other people. Well, if people can work through those things, they could move forward. That not everybody is like everyone else. And do you see the difference between how those people acted and how different people in your life act, you know? That's kind of the hangman, being enlightened to the truth that just because we've dealt with some people in our life who could have been more rigid or more stubborn or more immature, created an illusion, weren't really motivated by love, or were manipulative, doesn't mean everyone's that way. And then high vibe Pisces and Cancer is to kind of more listen to your intuition based on these experiences that you've had of seeing the difference between people. And but some people have more fear about those things, you know, and then it's up to the people that are in relationship with them, you know. Do you think you're ever going to want to get in a more formal commitment? And, you know, if people wanted to have children, it's like, I have a dream I'm trying to manifest. And if that's not your truth, then there might be some people that between the 9 and the 6 is letting go of the 3 of Cups, or the 3 of Pentacles. So the 9 of Pentacles and the 6 of Pentacles, I meant. That some people are going to quit working together with some people either because they feel like those people, how they want to move forward is different. They could want to keep moving forward the same way they are, which isn't getting in a more formal commitment. Other people could quit working with someone if, as time goes by, they kind of realize someone is more codependent, and it might be more out of fear or insecurity or other reasons that they want to be in the relationship or just to indulge themselves. And then maybe they don't like other people being more independent and loving themselves and maintaining more balance within themselves, because the bottom row can represent that things are out of balance and some people are kind of more tipped out of balance, and it is more about them or these other reasons as to why they want to be in friendships or relationships, and they never become independent and work through some of those things that could manipulate them. And then other people see the truth of it, that those things keep manipulating you, and you have the Six of Pentacles in Taurus. Everybody has their own kind of philosophy of life and belief systems, and how they view themselves, how they view the world, if they are more stubborn, if they are more about themselves, if they are more self-indulgent, if they are motivated by love or not. And you could just kind of realize that, your philosophy of life is different. Some people in the Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups. That some people you could feel have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, and you could feel like they have some growing up and maturing to do. Some people are just more in love with the world, and high vibe energy is being more independent of the world, where you're not as just manipulated by the world. It's, do I want some of these things of the world? Yes, just like everybody else. But I'm not willing to sacrifice myself, because Aries is about the self. I'm not willing to sacrifice love. If I'm going to get in a job, friendship, or relationship, I want it to be a job or a career field that I like. I want to work with people that I like. I want to work with people who are more just and fair and loving and encouraging, not people who might be more immature or more bossy or controlling or stubborn or self-indulgent or not very loving, And I'm going to listen to my intuition if I find myself in those kinds of situations. I'm not willing to sacrifice my truth, I want to be in relationships with people who want to work together with other people in a more balanced, just, fair, loving, and encouraging way. And if I've been in jobs, friendships, or relationships with people who kind of want to be indulged, a little stubborn, a little inflexible, and kind of want it to be a little bit more about them, or a lot more about them, and I might feel are kind of immature and keep thinking people, if they think that's just and fair to kind of indulge their more immature nature, their worldly nature, their prideful nature, their stubborn nature, things they want to indulge in, or they're just more caught up in their ego or their image or status, and that's the most important thing in their life, and love really isn't that important. And maybe, in high vibe Scorpio, don't really want to do a deep, meaningful relationship. Shadowy Scorpio is, you could feel like some people are more superficial and shallow, and they're more caught up in the superficial and shallow. And when people kind of see the truth of that, though they might, again, in our Scorpio energy, if we've invested time, energy, and effort, and we have love for people, we really don't want to move away from them. But I think I'd feel stuck in this situation because of these shadowy kind of aspects, or I feel like I'm going to miss an opportunity in love because I don't really think they do love. Or again, they can just be a friend or family member, but they keep thinking I should keep indulging them in their more stubborn, prideful, or immature ways of being. Can I love them? Yeah. Do I want to spend more time with you? No. In the Eight of Cups, I'm going to kind of keep my distance from you. Why would I want to hang out with somebody who seems to think it should just be more about them? That's not just and fair. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to let you do that with whoever else wants to do that with you, and I'm going to move on. And I might have to spend some time and work through some of my own fears and insecurities of loving and believing in myself. Because again, this is the reason for the top rose reading. And again, some people in their Aries energy, and anybody in their Aries energy within themselves, don't have to be an Aries sun sign, they can just be more about themselves. And, and they think it should be more about them. Some people, you could have wanted to be in a friendship and relationship. You could have just found out some people are already in a friendship and relationship. It's like, oh, that can be that somebody that you were independent of and then maybe went to see about being in a relationship with them. And they're like, oh, I've already moved forward in a different relationship. It's like, oh, okay. Or, because some people you could know, you could work with, you could reach out to, and then you find out, oh, they're already in another relationship. So whether they're in another relationship, whether they're more about themselves, whether they want to be in relationships for these other reasons, whatever the case is that you could have went through, or shadowy people in your life or a workplace, some people have moved on from it. They decide to take that cup of love, to get out of their ego about it. And then we go up to the top row. And while some people are doing that, some other people are still in the process of working through it. Because again, we can all be at different stages. Some people have already been in something, went through the period of feeling kind of stuck, kind of did some inner work about the people that they were in relationship with. And it's kind of like, I don't really, there's some things here that I don't care for. And so those people already worked through it and are moving on. Other people could just be in the midst of getting in something, and eventually they might get to this stage. And again, some of the people in their life, or if it's in a workplace, will move forward in a more high vibrational way, detach from some old ways of living or immaturity or stubbornness or whatever, and other people won't, and some people will never. If they're more prideful and stubborn or afraid of love, some of those people will live their life that way all their life. They have the free will. I don't want to do love. I want to be maybe in friendship and relationship and even marriage, but I'm going to keep operating from my more self-protected, defensive, egoic nature, and it will be more about being in the relationship, could work together with people in a cooperative way, but for them it could be more just indulging themselves emotionally in it because they don't, shadowy Scorpio, where it can be where people, and anybody can harness that they kind of keep their more authentic, their more maybe hopeful, believing, creative, inspired nature. They reject that. No, you're not coming out to play. You get hurt. And we're not going to really, it's too confusing. We're emotionally complex human beings. And Scorpio is about exploring the mysteries of life, and the first person to get to know really well is ourselves. And some people haven't even been inspired within themselves to work through things that manipulate them and aren't even maybe in touch with their own emotions and could refuse to listen to their intuition, operate more from their more worldly, egoic nature. It's more about the world. It's more about me. Let's be practical and logical. What will be good for my ego and my image? I don't want to do love. I don't want to be vulnerable. I could get hurt doing that. I'm not going to do it. And so it kind of, they got the free will to do that if they want. And some people do. So in the top row, we have the Page of Swords, the Three of Swords, the Star, the Ace of Swords, and the Six of Wands. So between the Page of Swords and the Three of Swords is the Two of Swords. And the Two of Swords, kind of like the Hangman, can talk about how we felt stuck. It's like, is it this? Is it that? Are they more motivated by love? Are they more fearful? Are they more about the world? Are they more about hope and faith and belief? And it can keep us stuck for a long time. And kind of in the Page of Swords, the Page of Swords, for one thing, if we got out of something, then we could have communicated to some other people in the world and just trying to get to know people. That's what the pages can kind of be, just friendly gestures to get to know people. But you could have communicated your truth to different people, that you got yourself unstuck because you saw how something was keeping you stuck, either your own more worldly, self-indulgent, immature, kind of indulging other people in poor behavior. You could have been tipped out of balance in the fact that you could be a very loving person and kind of had to maybe get yourself in some relationships with people who are more worldly focused, maybe trying to get them to look at life differently and maybe get more balance within themselves and get connected in with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and kind of realizing that you were in more of a mismatched relationship. And so if you didn't want to keep repeating that pattern, is kind of seeing the truth. Why don't I get in relationships with people who I think are more motivated and inspired by love? Well, one thing can be because we all like to stay in our comfort zone. And we could used to being in relationship with people, that are more caught up in the world, a little more stubborn, a little more immature. And we know how to work with those people. Being in a relationship with someone who kind of treats us the way we treat them, that can be different. And that's kind of out of our comfort zone. And so we might not even realize that, that's why we're repeating a pattern. Pisces can also talk about that there's kind of things buried beneath the surface again, kind of like Scorpio. Kind of things buried in our subconscious, and part of it could be that you can be a very loving person to other people, but you maybe really haven't learned to love yourself, because again, loving yourself would be kind of seeing the truth that love is to be just and fair. And we could keep thinking, oh no, they'll change, oh no, I'm sure they'll get out of their defensive nature, or I'm sure they'll quit being more immature, I'm sure they'll quit being more stubborn, because love is important to you. That's kind of what motivates and inspires. The Four of Wands can talk about your foundation of self. Within yourself, you could be more motivated and inspired by love, but it's to accept the truth that in a world of duality where people have free will, 50% of the people in the world at any given time can be more motivated and inspired by truth than love. And 50% of the people at any given time can be kind of a little bit more about themselves and these things of the world that they make more important than love. And we can have a hard time because we don't want to accept that truth. But it is the truth. In a world of duality, people have to be given free will, choice. And, is it good to offer love and encouragement to other people? Yes, but if we meet people and we find out, oh, you kind of seem to be more about this or more defensive or more fearful of love or whatever, I'm not. Well, why don't I get in relationships with people? Why do I get in a relationship with those people? Why don't I get in a relationship with someone who's more on the same page as me? And again, it can be just that what could be buried beneath the surface is that we really hadn't learned to love ourselves, to maybe think we deserve a more just and fair and balanced relationship, and for us to be treated the way we treat other people. And so, it kind of keeps us stuck because we're not enlightened to the truth, or that we lack some hope and belief in ourselves that we can manifest these dreams and things that we want to manifest into existence in our life, and believing we can do it, And so, in a more worldly view of life, we can think, no, I need to work more with these things of the world, instead of investing in loving and believing in myself, which would be believing I have more to work with than just the world. I do have my intuitive nature, my creative nature, my own unique talent, skills, and interests. And if I love and believe in myself and invest in those things within myself and invest in those unique talent, skills, and interests, and kind of grow and mature myself and expand my perception of myself and the world around me and what I believe is possible, I would have more hope and faith and belief in myself. But, that can take decades to kind of work through. So we might think we have to work more with these things of the world and people of the world. And we could just this could just talk about not really listening to our intuition. And it's kind of like our more enlightened, loving nature of self was sitting over here saying, oh my gosh, when are they going to start listening to their intuition? They're so caught up in the world. They're so sure that if they invest in these things of the world or have these certain things or indulge in these certain things, or it's being in a relationship, is the thing that's going to make them happy. Yes, we're human beings. Do we want to be in friendship and relationship with people? Yes. But do we let our want for those things of the world take such precedent in our life that we're... High vibe Pisces is about being more independent and listening to, believing in ourselves, believing in our dreams, loving ourselves. And so, just like you could have been in that energy and your high vibe nature within yourself kind of felt that way, your high vibe nature has to sit and wait for you to go through all these life experiences of things that you thought you were going to find emotionally fulfilling, and then feeling stuck, maybe feeling manipulated, feeling unloved. It's just like if people went down the wrong career path. It's like, shit, I shouldn't have invested in that kind of workplace, or I shouldn't have gotten my degree in that. That's not aligned with my truth. But we can go to college for certain things, get in certain career fields, because maybe we didn't believe we could have the stability or the security, or could accomplish, or have stability and security within ourselves if we pursued the things that we really kind of more wanted to pursue. So we didn't listen to our intuition, and we got ourselves in some situations basically to keep telling us this isn't it. And we'll keep repeating those patterns over and over until it's like, I am tired of this. And then we have the Two of Swords. And then we have the Eight of Wands and the Judgment card. And the Temperance. And the Ten of Wands. So we feel stuck. And then in the Two of Swords and high vibe can be having to work through this mental conflict. Should I do this? Should I do that? And we kind of get inspired within ourselves in the Eight of Wands to wrap our brain around this game of life. I could keep doing what I've been doing, and it'll probably end up the way it's ended up. I want to see the truth. And so, in the Judgment card and the Temperance card and the Two of Wands, to really make that decision that I am going to get inspired to kind of put in this work and effort to get clear about what my truth is and my truth isn't. And what my dreams are. The Two of Wands in Aries can be about what our dreams are. Pisces energy can be about what our dreams are, what we think we would find more emotionally fulfilling, because some of the things we have already invested in did not turn out the way we wanted. So I can either figure out, I can always hope other people will change, or I could try to figure out, why do I do those things? Why do I look to those things? What kind of people am I drawn and attracted to? Why am I drawn and attracted to them? Am I more tempted in my worldly nature? Am I more fearful of being more independent? Maybe not exchanging, being in a relationship with someone, maybe taking some time to get to know myself. High vibe Scorpio. And really get clear about my truth and my dreams and what I want to manifest in my life. And some people did that, and they got to the truth. And the truth is that we did have these dreams that we wanted to manifest, but it also, in the Two of Swords and the Three of Swords is Libra energy. It has to be just and fair, and you could have been more codependent. We all have been. And, if we're in more codependent energy, there's going to be other people in the world that are happy that we are. If we haven't learned to love ourselves, there's going to be other people in the world who are happy we haven't. If we feel stuck or if we're more immature, there's going to be other people in the world that are happy we are. Because either they're looking for people like that to be in a relationship with, or they're in that same energy. So I need to learn to love myself. And then that can be in the Page of Swords, my own inner child nature, of what I think in the pages can represent like all three of the air signs, Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. What do I think is just and fair? What are my dreams? Am I in my Gemini nature more aligned with my hopeful, believing, loving nature? Or am I more manipulated by my worldly nature? If I'm more manipulated by my worldly nature, then other people can use those things to try to manipulate me. If my want for being in friendship and relationship could make me kind of compromise my truth, well, there's going to be people in the world that are happy to manipulate me in a relationship or a friendship. I have to stand up for my own inner child nature, myself. I have to learn to love myself. I have to be inspired within myself that if I get in friendships or relationships with people, and I think this dream in the star card of Aquarius is going to come into reality, and we're moving forward in the Ace of Swords and the Six of Wands, thinking we're all on the same page, we have the same truth, and that we're both inspired to come together in joy and celebration. But if I'm trying to move it forward in high vibe energy, high vibe Libra, high vibe Aquarius, all three of the air signs, high vibe Leo, being motivated and inspired by love, being authentic, maintaining balance within myself, being loving and encouraging to others, treating them in the way that I like to be treated, to encourage them to love and believe in themselves. That's how I want to move forward in a relationship. And some of the relationships that people could get in, and again, whether it's a job or friendships, some of the people that we got in relationships with maybe still had some unresolved heartbreak that they hadn't dealt with. And then they're trying to move forward in a relationship, and they could feel kind of stuck because in the Four of Cups, again, you have to become independent of an old relationship, right, to move forward in a new relationship. And sometimes people hadn't become independent of an old relationship. It still kind of had them stuck. And it kind of prevents the relationship from moving forward the way it is. They could keep moving forward in it, but again, kind of defensive to really more investing in it. and kind of more indulging themselves in it. And for some people, it's because it's not aligned with their truth. For some people, it is, but, you know, did we deal and work through some of that to be independent of a past relationship? Some people, I saw the truth, why that wasn't going to work out. They were committed to moving forward in this new relationship. And then sometimes some of the other people in it really haven't resolved themselves with some issues from their past. And, when we aren't speaking our truth and think maybe it'll all just work out okay, if that's not your truth and that's not who you love, or the truth is you maybe are more immature, you maybe are more materialistic, but you're in a relationship with people who are more motivated by love, it's kind of like, this is nice and all, but really I want to make my life more about these things, And high vibe people, and that's how I view high vibe Scorpio too, is life is about going on this journey, and we are all these emotionally complex people. Some people are hiding, they're more immature. Some people never grow up. Some people are more defensive. Some people have a pain, heartbreak, whatever, that they just bury under the surface and hope it'll all just magically go away. But then it affects how they conduct themselves in a relationship and the decisions that they make, because they have these unresolved issues that they haven't dealt with or worked through. And then that's kind of, Virgo energy talks about doing this inner work to free ourselves from issues from our past and to grow up and mature ourselves. But it requires us to deal with the truth, to go within and look at those things that stop us from loving and believing in ourselves, stop us from being more open to other people. Again, if it's fear and insecurities because of how other people were in our life, well, it's to do that inner work to see the truth. Do I think the people I'm currently in a relationship like those people? And if no, they're not, okay. Do I think these people have some issues that I should be concerned about? And then am I willing to communicate that with them, to work through those things, to work through some, we have to admit that maybe we have some fears and insecurities, or some things kind of bother us, and if we can work through those things, we keep moving forward. If we can't, then, the relationship might end. And that's why some people could be fearful of even bringing something up, because they could be fearful that the relationship would end. But, it's kind of saying, if the relationship was going to end, it's kind of like it was going to end probably sooner or later, if people aren't even willing to be open to communicating it, or you being in a relationship with someone who isn't willing to communicate. But sometimes it can just be that what we're driven and motivated by and our idea of the dream life is different. We know all sorts of people are between friends and family and work. We all know what all these different people do that they enjoy doing, that make their life happy. And we could be like, oh my gosh, I go banca if I was in that relationship. That is not my truth. But they could be perfectly happy in it. Everybody has their idea of what they think is just and fair, and who and what things they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into that they find emotionally fulfilling. Well, sometimes it's kind of that mix of what makes that up is different. And I think high vibe people realize that not everything's going to work out the way they want. Pisces can talk about there's all these kind of hidden forces in the world. Everybody's got their dualistic nature. We never know when people are going to be tempted in their more immature nature, stubborn nature, prideful nature. We don't necessarily know these things that manipulate them because we don't have full insight into people, right? We can only take accountability for our actions, and other people have to take responsibility for their actions. And I think high vibe people offer love to themselves for being a fallible human being who's made mistakes, offers it to other people in their life so those things don't keep manipulating them. And they keep believing in themselves and believing in their dreams, accept the truth, and they keep moving forward, being inspired to keep going on that journey. And that's like high vibe Scorpio. Life is a mystery. There are so many things to learn about myself and others. And I'm going to take the lessons that I've learned from all these different life experiences. It's all helped me get more clear about what my truth is and what my truth isn't. I know everybody has these different philosophies of life, of kind of what they think is just and fair, and their idea of what the dream life is. And I've got more clear about my truth and my philosophy and my idea of the dream life. And I accept that it's different. But I'm willing to dust myself off and get back on that roller coaster of life. I'm not willing to give those things up, the highs and the lows that can come with it, because I want to experience those things, and other people can be exactly the opposite. They lack that more creative or inspired or more hopeful believing nature because of some things that could have happened in their life, or the truth is that doesn't motivate and inspire them, and they don't want to be more independent. They don't want to be in more deep meaningful relationships. That is like scary and the danger zone. I don't want to go there. And they just might not be more independent at all. And they like living more from their mind than their heart, and making their life more about the status and the ego and the image and conforming to the world. That can be like shadowy Taurus, shadowy Virgo, Libra, Aquarius. And emotionally, in their Cancer energy within themselves, they have the free will, and they free willingly align with, they love being more about themselves or these things of the world. And maybe not kind of growing and healing and maturing themselves, working through their fears or insecurities, looking at life from a higher perspective, and really don't want to do deep, meaningful relationships. And high vibe people kind of work through it about the different people in their life, able to accept the truth, realize they weren't happy in some of those jobs, friendships, and relationships. Those other people could be happy in it. That's not my truth. So I see the truth of it, and I'm moving on. And then from the Six of Wands down to the Four of Wands, the Two of Wands can be about a dream that you had, which is down here in the Two of Wands. We could have always, with different people in our life, have wanted some of those jobs, friendships, and relationships to keep moving forward, or been more just and fair, or more loving and encouraging and supportive, or just keep moving forward. Yeah. But sometimes if we're kind of living our life differently, and we're not the same people that we were at one time, some of those relationships don't keep moving forward, or they didn't move forward in the way we wanted. We all could have changed. What we wanted to do at different stages in our life is different than what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into later in our life. High vibe, the big thing is with high vibe people is they get out of their ego about it. And they trust and believe that the divine has a plan for their life. They're going to move forward with the people in their life that are motivated and inspired to keep working together with them in a just and fair and loving and encouraging way. And if that means detaching and becoming independent of certain friendships, jobs, or relationships, and that's what they're going to do. I don't want to keep staying stuck. And if some people aren't communicating the truth, aren't working together with you, then I need to accept that truth. People are investing their time, energy, and effort into things and ways of living life and people for whatever reasons they have. Either those people are more aligned with their truth and they're moving forward in this way with other people, or maybe they are kind of more shadowy, or they're repeating an old pattern that you don't want to do anymore. And they could just either be repeating that pattern with the people in their life who want to keep repeating that pattern, or they'll go find someone else who wants to repeat that pattern. Could you be sad? Yes. But, you know, you have your dream, they have their dream, and it isn't. Your idea is something they might not find emotionally fulfilling. You know, again, if people are more shadowy, they're more stubborn, they like to be more manipulative, like to be more defensive, live more for their mind than their heart, are more about the ego and the image or something, and that's not your truth, then they don't want to be in a relationship with you. They want to be in a relationship with other people who will either indulge them in their more shadowy ways, or they make their life about what they make their life about, you know? So I think the high vibe people who listen to their intuition were more inspired to listen to their intuition, love and believe in themselves, be less manipulated by their codependency, their fear, their heartbreak, their lust, their greed, and things of the world. I think those people are going to move forward victoriously, because they're not repeating certain patterns. They have kind of seen the truth, shed an old layer of themselves, looking to find other people who've kind of shed an old way of living life or viewing life, just like you shed being a 21-year-old to become more like a 25-year-old. And again, there's some people in the world, they just create that illusion that they're more stable, grounded, mature, inspired by love, have learned some of these lessons in life. And then as you move forward with them, you find out you didn't learn some of those lessons. And some shadowy people, they think it's all about just creating this illusion. They create an illusion. They think it's just and fair. Isn't that what everybody's doing? And it's like, no, I don't want to be in relationships with people who are kind of pulling some bullshit like people did when they were maybe 21 and 25. I assumed you had learned those lessons. And they're like, oops, no. And, you know, sometimes it's so unjust, stubborn, unloving, immature that you realize your dream can't come into reality with them. So you wish them peace and you don't give up on your dream. You just go look for people who are more on the same page as you. What's coming out for people who harness some high vibe Scorpio energy that they might not see coming? The Nine of Pentacles and the Karma card, which is Judgment. And the reason is because of the Scorpio Death card. So in high vibe, the Scorpio Death card talks about completing a cycle. You kind of learn the lesson you're meant to learn. You work through something that used to manipulate you, and you freed yourself from it. You became independent of an old way of looking at life, feeling about life, viewing life, being more codependent or fearful or indulging people in poor behavior, whatever it was. And because you wanted things to change, and because you felt stuck, and you offered probably truth and love to some people in your life, and they decided they didn't want to move forward that way. They wanted to keep doing this. So it's like, okay, and you didn't give up on yourself. You didn't quit being inspired by your truth. You let them have their truth and their dream to go do, and you realize that wasn't your truth. And you've become independent of them. And in high vibe Virgo, you have learned to love yourself, appreciate yourself, what you bring to the table, investing in your own unique talent, skills, and interests, and judgment goes in your favor. You know, you get to go to the next level of the video game of life because you learn the lesson you're meant to learn from a certain stage of life. That is nothing that you want to repeat. You are holding yourself and other people accountable for their actions, and the people in your life who might have wanted to move forward with you, but they could have been in shadowy Scorpio energy, superficial, shallow, intimidating, controlling, emotionally detached, didn't want to change, didn't want to be more independent, didn't want to get out of their ego or something. You wished them peace and you moved on. And you've let go of that old dream and you are firing on all four cylinders within yourself. And high vibe energy, especially in high vibe Aries, is that it's like knowing that all four aspects of yourself are equally important. And we had to go on this journey of life because we could make our heart more important. Oh my gosh, I love them. And the other three aspects of our life go in the toilet. Or we could have made things of the world that we look to be more important. And it's realizing in tarot, we have the four suits of the deck, the heart, the mind, the 3D world, and the creative passion nature. They're all a part of me. And they're all equally important. And you might know some people who either aren't inspired to hold themselves accountable. It would maybe benefit them if they did, but they might not want to. And they just keep trying to balance out their emotions that, they could take some more stubborn or immature, self-indulgent action in a relationship. But they keep not wanting to take accountability for it. And they just try to balance out their emotions that they're still a little bit just more about themselves. And they maybe haven't learned some lessons about how to work together with people more cooperatively. And they're going to probably keep being that way. The more stubborn, the more prideful, the more fearful, the more materialistic, the more self-indulgent, whatever people are, odds are they won't be changing anytime in the near future. And again, some people did hurtful and unkind things because they didn't think you would love and believe in yourself. And that's a risk that people take in a relationship, trying to manipulate and control people versus choosing to work together with them more cooperatively from love. And some people saw that people chose to not become independent of these more shadowy ways of going about things, and those people became independent of them. And I think you're going to come together with others in joy and celebration, because as you're moving forward in that energy, not repeating certain patterns, other people know you could repeat old patterns. You could take action more out of fear, insecurity, lust, greed, pride, ego. But you're moving forward, loving and believing in yourself, investing in yourself, looking very victorious and successful and knowing your worth and value. And you're not going to settle for shadowy energy. Can be settling for the illusion. And it's like, no, I'm not willing to settle for the illusion. Already been there and done that. And I'm not going to indulge people in poor behavior anymore. If they want to be in a relationship they can go be in a relationship with someone else. If they want to be more stubborn or prideful, they can go do it with someone else. If they want to be more immature, go be immature with someone else. If they lack hope and faith and belief and love and high vibe Aquarius energy, then they can go do it with someone else. I'm going to go find people who are independent of those more shadowy ways of being, who are inspired by truth and love and want to work together with people in that energy. What's coming up for people, and it might be an end of if you're single, because some of you could be in relationships or marriages, and this is just outside people or other people. But for some of you who are single, it could be an end to being single, because some other people see the truth of who you are. and they want to get to know you more. What's coming up for people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Scorpio energy that they might not see coming? And the more you keep living your truth, the more people who are shadowy can't manipulate you or tempt you in your more worldly nature, because you've already called judgment on dead energy. People who aren't inspired more by truth and love, who try to tempt people in their more worldly, egoic nature. What's coming up for the shadowy people they don't see coming? The Fool card. Why? Because of the Two of Swords. Well, the shadowy people keep not wanting to listen to their intuition. Even though their intuition could tell them, you're being immature, you're being bossy, you're being stubborn, you're being self-indulgent, this is hurtful, this is unjust, this is unfair, you're full of yourself. Whatever it is, they keep repeating an old pattern. They keep being tempted to align with maybe their more immature nature, other things that manipulate them, the world, past pain, heartbreak, not loving and believing in themselves, whatever it is, they keep repeating that same pattern. And anybody who's kind of more worldly or shadowy, a little more stubborn, a little more prideful, a little more immature, doesn't want to take responsibility for their actions, doesn't maybe want to get more balanced and be more just and fair, they're always going to have some more high vibrational people in their life who can keep indulging them. You know, again, just like you've done with people in workplaces, friendships, and relationships. Because the people don't want, they love them. They want things to move forward. They wanted a dream to come into reality with them. They wanted them to free themselves from what manipulates them. And eventually people can't, we can stay in denial, that shadowy energy, and that's what the Two of Swords can talk about. We can stay in denial of the truth for a long time because we want something to work out. We could wish that other people would grow or heal or mature themselves, or quit being more immature or self-indulgent, get more balance within themselves, love themselves, or whatever. But all we can do is be a loving and encouraging person in people's life, and then they have free will to do what they want to do. And eventually some of the people in their life, they can't keep feeling stuck and staying in denial of the truth forever. When someone kind of keeps showing them over and over, they might view them differently and like to view them as someone who's more stable, grounded, balanced, authentic, loving, and mature. But when they keep repeating certain patterns over and over, people can't keep staying in denial of the truth. And eventually, they kind of see the truth. And even though they can have love for some people, they can't keep staying stuck. And eventually it's kind of like, you know what? Again, some people, like the rest of us, are going to have to learn some lessons the hard way. And other people are going to move on with their life. I can't keep trying to, and that's high vibe energy is leading by example. Some of the shadowy people know that people want to be in friendship and relationship, and those people love them. But then those people, the shadowy people, would have to be more maybe stable, grounded, balanced, just, fair, loving, treat other people the way they like to be treated. And they really don't want to do that, And people in their life might want them to hang out with them more and do more things with them, or a friend group. But they kind of want to keep doing this. And eventually people are like, you know what? They're going to do what they're going to do. And I'm going to focus my time, energy, and effort on people who aren't doing that, because that's not what I want to do. And if they are people who are more younger, they got to learn these lessons, let them go on that journey and kind of find out again. And maybe they'll want to live their life that way all their life. But what they don't see coming is more high vibe people in their life. aren't going to keep indulging them forever. And people won't stay in the denial of the truth forever when people keep repeating some old poor past patterns and the dream never comes into reality. Like high vibe people can be in this energy towards some people who keep repeating old patterns. It's like, when is the dream going to come into reality? Oh, I'm just going to tell you that things are going to change and, things will go that way, but they keep not doing it. And eventually people realize they've got to move on because nothing is changing and they need to become independent and call judgment on those people. And some people do. And, the people who are being indulged for quite a while in a relationship are used to people kind of indulging them. And then when the people quit, it's like, what the hell? Aren't you going to come back and indulge me and, whatever? Be loving and encouraging to me, even though I don't want to love and believe in myself. I was looking for you to fill my cup emotionally. I don't want to learn how to love myself. You're the one who helps me stay balanced. I go do this, and then you're loving and encouraging, and it helps me maintain balance or look like I'm more balanced, and then I go do this again. And now they could kind of feel stuck because they weren't willing to work together with people more cooperatively. But they're maybe too stubborn and prideful to hold themselves accountable. So they go repeat a pattern. They just go to try to find someone else to go repeat that pattern with all over again. And while they're doing that, the other people are moving forward in life. And they go repeat an old pattern. And if they keep doing it, eventually, the people that are going to be in their life are other people who live their life that way too, who maybe also don't want to see the truth. Maybe if they're all more materialistically motivated or like to just indulge in things to feel better, that's what they're going to go do. Don't want to look at life from any other perspective, just make their life more about them and indulging in whatever they indulge in, and then they'll be surrounded by other people who are like that too. Other people who don't want to take accountability for their actions, they'll probably be around other people who don't want to take accountability for their actions. But if they're just more codependent, if they have people who are willing to be in a relationship with them, even if they feel stuck in it, even if the other person feels stuck in it, if they're both willing to stay in it because of their fear of being single, well, then they'll probably keep being in it, staying maybe stuck. Because they'd have to have some hope and faith and belief that, the divine doesn't want people to stay stuck. The divine wants them to have hope and faith and belief in themselves, but again, they might not really look at life from a higher perspective or, but we as a human vessel and in our dualistic nature, we have free will to align with and embrace and embody these certain thoughts and feelings and emotions to try to manifest things into our life. We do have our creative, inspired, intuitive nature and our own unique talent, skills, and interests that we could also invest in. But again, some people might not really believe in themselves and they stay in much more codependent energy and fearful of listening to their intuition because they maybe just don't trust their own judgment. So then they could be codependent on other people to tell them what to do. Even if those people give them bad advice, that's like shadowy Hierophant of Taurus energy, they keep listening to those people instead of listening to their own intuition to live their own authentic life. So there you go, Scorpio. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.